Ok, professora.
Obrigada, Daisy. Natalie, we are ready now.
Yes. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the public defense of Gabriela Nobre Diaz. My name is Professor Nathalie Dens. I'm a professor of marketing at the University of Antwerp, and I would very much like to welcome also the supervisors of this joint PhD of the University of Antwerp and the University of Sao Paulo, Professor Kavita Hamza of the University of Sao Paulo, and Professors Anouk Levens and Ingrid Mons of the University of Antwerp. With us today are also Professor Vera Blažević, who is Professor of Digital Marketing at Radboud University, and Professor Tania Modesto Beludo de Oliveira and Andres Rodrigues Veloso of the University of Sao Paulo as well. So these are the full members of the jury. And the very first thing I would like to do is to give the floor to the PhD candidate, to Gabriela, to explain to us in a brief presentation what she has been working on all these years. So Gabriela, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Professor Nathalie. So I'm going to share here. You see my screen, right? Every time.
Yes.
It's question, thank you. I'll just check my time so I have the control of time. Okay. Well, hello everyone. Thank you for coming today. So today I'm going to talk about my PhD dissertation, which is called Collaboration and Communication for Sustainability-Based Value, a multi-level analysis of stakeholder networks in the Amazon forest. So my PhD dissertation is part of my joint PhD, so at the University of São Paulo and the University of London. And before talking about my dissertation, I think it's important to bring a contextualization about what is the in which context the PhD dissertation is part of. So okay. So here we have the image of the Amazon forest. Here is just the Amazon forest from the Brazil part, because we can also consider that the Amazon is in other countries of South America, like Peru, Bolivia. But here is only the Brazilian part of the Amazon forest, which is already a huge part of Brazil. And here I want to call attention for when you see the dark part of the image, it represents the deforestation of the Amazon forest. And when you consider the lightened part of the image, are the territories with a lower percentage of deforestation, and most of them, they represent protected territories in the Amazon forest. Protected territories represent some areas in the Amazon where illegal activities, they cannot occur, and there is a higher protection of these areas. And there is a direct relation between protected territories with a lower percentage of deforestation, and the opposite can occur too, because you can see here that we have a lot of dark images here regarding deforestation. And a way to illustrate this, I think this image is very shocking because you can see the difference. On the left side, we have a private property, and here there is not forest anymore. So everything here was deforested. And on the right side, we have a protected area, an indigenous land, with the forest, with the protection of the forest. And you can see like there is only a line here that separates everything. And then I ask you, which part of the figure enables sustainability-based value creation when you see these two different types of things? And when I say sustainability-based value creation, I mean that considering the three dimensions of sustainability, so the economic, environmental, and social, and you are creating benefits for the three dimensions in a very harmony way, balancing these three types of dimensions. So now, understanding a little bit what is sustainability-based value, we can think which part of the image can create more sustainability-based value. And I can say that it's the right side of the image, because here you have traditional communities, you have different ingredients from the forest, you have the protection of the forest. So we can think about the social, environmental, and economic value that are being created. But when you go to the left side, we only see economic benefits that is being created. Because here we have logging, livestock, farming. We also have a lot of plantations of soybean, and here only economic value is being created. And then another question comes in my mind, which is how it's possible to create sustainability-based value in this context of the Amazon forest. And then we add the idea of the co here. So it's not only creation, but it's co-creation, because you need a lot of multi-stakeholders working together in order to create value in this context. So it's not an isolated practice, it's a multi-stakeholder collaboration. And an example to illustrate this type of multi-stakeholder networks, so working together, we have a network that is called the Origins Brazil Network. This network was created by two NGOs, the Imaflora and ISA. And the main goal of this network was to promote an ethical commercialization while keeping the forest standing. So in this network, a lot of different stakeholders, they work together. We have traditional communities, we have NGOs, we have companies, we have the administrator of the network, and all of them, they're working together in a common goal, which is to protect the forest, bring in ethical commercialization, and also the appreciation of the traditional communities. And a way of illustrating the results of these networks are some of the products that comes from the Origins Brazil network. And besides the products, we also have a restaurability system that the network promotes. And this network was investigated, was used as a case study for my dissertation. So talking now about the dissertation itself, so I brought the contextualization. The first chapter of my dissertation is about the introduction of the dissertation. So the main idea of the dissertation is talk about a wicked problem. 4 wicked problems are problems that cannot be solved in an isolated way. And even it's very difficult to find a final solution for that. You always need a continuous working and collaboration with different stakeholders to solve or to try to mitigate this problem. And the wicked problem that I investigated was a sustainability-based value, together with the idea of the stakeholder collaboration. But there is a complexity. We talk about putting together a lot of stakeholders working to create this type of value. It's because as there is a diversity of stakeholders, there are a lot of expectations, goals, interests, and also it's important to consider the social, environmental, and economic dimensions when you want to achieve a goal. So there are a lot of complexity of challenge of complexity. And to try to analyze, to understand with a little bit more about these complexities and how they can be managed, the lens that I used at my dissertation were the ecosystem perspective, with this idea that when you think about collaboration and also about value, you can think about only 2 stakeholders working together, collaborating with each other in a small scale, or you can think about an entire network working together. So you have different levels of this type of collaboration and also the value, because sometimes a value can be for only one person, or a value can be for an entire society, an entire context, an entire country. So you have different levels when you talk about collaboration and value. So my dissertation considering these differences between the levels. And there are 3 main gaps that they worked as a guide for my dissertation. The first one is that when you think about the entire network working together, like the Origins Brazil, how it's possible to manage all the expectations of the different stakeholders working together. And if there are some conflicts because of these expectations, how can you deal with them in order to co-create value? So the first one, considering this gap for my dissertation. The second gap that I considered is that different from what we usually think, that every time that stakeholders, they work together, they're going to create value. Sometimes the opposite can occur. One of the stakeholders can suffer some negative impact. So the opposite occurs. There is a reduction or elimination of the benefits for a stakeholder. So as a second gap, I tried to investigate what types of interactions can lead to value co-destruction instead of value creation. And the third gap, going beyond the network, not only inside the network, but beyond, how it's possible to communicate the value that is being created inside this network in order to different stakeholders adopt. In this case, I consider the consumers, as we are talking about commercialization. And then I consider this third gap to work on my dissertation. So putting together the three gaps, the research of the end goal of this research was to investigate collaboration and communication for sustainability-based value through a multi-stakeholder and multi-level perspective. Here are the three foundations, theoretical foundations that are used in my dissertation were sustainability-based value co-creation. So this idea of considering the three types of dimensions. Then I consider the sustainability-based value co-destruction. So this idea that some interactions, they can produce uneven or ineffective or even harmful consequences. And the third foundation was sustainability-based value adoption, thinking about consumers, in the sense that the adoption depends on the communication that is being promoted by the networks. So these were the three foundations. And this is the overview of the dissertation, in which I investigated three different levels. To think about the ecosystem level, we had the macro, which was the network level. We had the meso level, which was the stakeholder constellation, so the different groups of stakeholders interacting. And then we have I'm going to say micro, sorry, because sometimes I make a confusion because macro and macro are very similar. So the micro level regarding consumers, thinking about only one group of stakeholders. So this is the overview of my dissertation. And now I'm going to talk a little bit about the three different studies that I developed. So in chapter 2, I investigated the macro level of the network, so think about the entire network. And the idea here was to investigate how the different expectations that stakeholders can have and the conflicts that are possible to occur because of difference between these expectations, how they can affect the co-creation of the network. And guided by this research goal, the method was the unique case study of the Origins Brazil, as I said, and with some in-depth interviews and observational data, we found the results. Just a small information that this paper was published at the Business Strategy Environment. And the result of this paper was that we developed the ASIS framework. This ASIS framework is related to the expectations, conflicts, interventions, and sustainability-based value. So the idea here is that three different types of expectations that are present in these networks, they exist. But sometimes difference between what stakeholders they want related to these expectations, they can lead to conflict. But when the network implements some types of interventions, it can mitigate these conflicts and can also lead to value creation. So the importance here is to identify what kind of conflicts can occur and try to implement the interventions, because it's possible to create value even with difference between the stakeholders. Now talking about the chapter 3, this one was about the meso level. So we talked about the entire network. Now we are talking about the different groups of stakeholders working together, which is the meso level. Just a second. But I'm going to continue. Sorry, I'm going to share. But
Não, falta no Zoom.
Não alt tab, daí volta o Zoom.
Yes, now we have it again.
thank you. Yes. Talking about the meso paper, this one which refers to the different groups of stakeholders. The idea of this paper, the main idea here was the value destruction. So this idea that even when there is an intention to create value, sometimes the interactions can lead to value destruction. And what this paper aimed to do was to investigate the different determinants that can lead to this value destroyed. So what is leading to its occurrence, and also considering how the different groups of stakeholders they face determinants. So not all stakeholders they are going to have similar experience regarding value destruction. This paper had two different phases. It was a mixed mathematics design. And this paper is almost done to be submitted to the business and society. So I have almost done the version that I'm going to submit. And in a very brief way, so I'm going to talk about the first phase. The first phase was a combination of literature review and qualitative data. And here, I wanted to identify different types of determinants that can lead to value destruction. So combining literature with the qualitative data, I identified two categories of determinants that can lead to this co-destruction. The first one is resource-related determinants. So when you think about resource, that stakeholders they need to integrate, to interact. Sometimes when you have a problem, it can lead to value destruction. And the mechanism, the idea behind this type of determinants is that when there is a poor resource management of these resources during the integration, it can lead to value destruction. And the other category was collaboration. And here, the mechanism behind this category is that when there is a failure on the relationship between different stakeholders, and this failure affects the capacity of the organization to interact with each other, it can lead to value destruction. And a very fast example, I brought here a speech that illustrates the time pressure. So here a community said that when we worked in the rubber jam, we were almost extinct, unable to practice our rituals. It means that when the community started to interact commercial relationships with other companies, and they didn't manage very well the time that they designated to the commercial and to the other characteristics that they have rituals, they almost were extincting in terms of culture. So if there is a management of these resources, it can lead to value destruction. And then the phase 2 were that we tried in a very exploratory way. We tried to quantify a little bit the results that we found on tracing run. And here, with 63 responses from 2 networks, the Regions Brazil and AMAS, the aim here was to try to understand a little bit more different stakeholders without comparing them. We found results so these were the 2 frameworks that were developed. And the main results were that when you think about communities, usually they face more resource-related determinants. Companies, they face more collaboration-related determinants. And NGOs, as they work with both stakeholders, companies and communities, they usually face the two types of determinants. So these were the main results of this study. And now I'm going to chapter 4, which was the micro level perspective. So think about consumers. The idea here was to investigate the effect of different sustainability cues affecting the consumer adoption of sustainable and co-created products coming from the Amazon. We tested 3 different types of sustainability cues because they represent 3 different types of methods. The sustainability label is more related to environmental impact. The traceability QR code brings transparency and traceable information, and the co-creation label brings more social information. And to develop this research, it was a search design with 4 experimental conditions. And this paper is now in round 1 of consumer policy. Here were some of the conditions that we used. And we tested 2 different types of products, the manual floor and shoes, to test the product complexity. And some of the results, this was the theoretical framework. And the results were that we found significant results for the traceability QR code and sustainability label that worked on the witness purchase. The sustainability perception had a significant mediation effect with traceability QR code and sustainability label. Besides that, when you think about the moderation effect, the knowledge about the cues and the sustainability-based consumer value, they had moderation effects. But thinking about the product complexity, we didn't have a moderation effect, neither for trust as a mediation, and the co-creation label didn't have any results. So we can have some insights about that, about the needing of education consumers, about what is co-creation, and showing that the importance of co-creation with traditional communities. And now I'm going to the conclusion of the dissertation. The main idea of this dissertation is showing that in order to co-create sustainability-based stakeholder networks, it's important to always consider the different levels of this network, considering that they are integrated, and you always need to work on the 3 levels because they are interconnected and they can affect each other. For the conclusions, we had some theoretical contributions for the sustainability-based value. So some of the conclusions were that we identified new forms of economic and social sustainability-based value. We introduced the SS framework. We explored how unintentionally value co-destruction can occur. And we investigate how communication can be a strategic mechanism to co-create value. Besides that, we contribute to the ecosystem literature by underscoring the interdependence across the 3 levels and also the characteristics of each level. We contribute to the stakeholder theory by deepening the understanding of the collaboration with a diverse stakeholders in terms of expectations, value destruction, and how the diversity can affect. And regarding consumer behavior literature, we provide a more comprehensive understanding of how network co-create sustainability-based value can be translated into consumer recognition of the Amazon products and the importance of traditional products. Regarding managerial contributions, the SS framework can help the orchestrators of networks to deal with differences, to identify expectations, conflicts. It also helps to identify the key determinants of failure and shows that the structure can affect differently the stakeholders. We also provide companies and policymakers guidance to design transparent information to consumers. Regarding the social contributions, we position traditional communities as central to achieve sustainable development. We also connect different actors like companies, NGOs, and communities. We inform public policy by evidencing the social and environmental impacts of the traditional communities. And we highlight consumer education as a way to teach to consumer sustainable consumption, and also consumers understand the importance of the forest and the traditional communities. And finally, the main idea is that dissertation, the findings of dissertation can advance the knowledge on how to manage wicked problems in three main ways. The first way is that by mapping the multi-stakeholders that pertain to the type of system, you enable a better understanding of the wicked problem. So it's important to understand who are the actors involved in the system. Second, develops analytical and managerial tools like this conflicts to manage these conflicts. And third, positions communication as a central dimension in tackling wicked problem. So it's important not only to co-create value, but also to communicate in order to keep working on the system. And then, thank you. I would like to thank CAPS and CUFI Association that granted my fellowships during my PhD. And the most important, I would like to, I'm not going to cry, but I want to thank everybody that was part of my PhD dissertation. That's it. Okay.
Gabriela, and beautiful pictures to end with. Yes, go ahead.
Okay, I will stop sharing. That's it. I'll just drink some water.
Yes, go ahead. Give you a brief chance to recuperate. And then I would very much like to open the floor to questions. And I would first like to give the floor to Professor Blažević.
Thank you, Professor Dens. And yeah, Gabriela, first of all, congratulations on completing this relevant and important doctoral thesis and on giving us a nice overview of what you have been doing in the last years. I really think your work addresses one of the most pressing challenges of our time, the sustainable future of the Amazon, with a wide variety of studies, integration of important stakeholders, and really nice contributions. And yeah, the integration of macro, meso, and micro level analysis through your multi-method approach demonstrates both ambition and scholarly maturity, so that you make an important contribution to the field. Your ESIS framework offers a valuable conceptual tool for understanding how conflicts can become catalysts for co-creation, while your empirical findings provide actionable insights for practitioners working in complex multi-stakeholder environments. And I'm impressed by the depth of your engagement with traditional communities and the care you've taken to also include their voices and agency in your research. So I think that's very nice. So congratulations on that. However, as you know, dissertation research comes never without questions. So I would like to ask you two questions basically today. So your dissertation presents those three distinct empirical studies at the macro, meso, and micro levels, each making valuable contributions. And also now in your presentation overall, we have seen some of those contributions coming back. However, I felt what I missed a bit was the theoretical contributions you highlighted also just now, they largely summarize your individual studies rather than offering an overarching theoretical reflection that kind of transcends them. So could you articulate what new theoretical insights emerge when we consider these three levels, the macro, meso, and micro, together, that we would not see from examining each study independently? So in other words, what is the higher order theoretical contribution that emerges from your findings across those levels of analysis? And then my second question, once you're done with that, is if you were to start again today, what would you do differently with respect to your research, maybe your theory, but maybe also your method?
Okay, thank you, Professor Vera, for the question. I think when trying to integrate the three levels, the main contribution here was the stakeholder collaboration. because different perspectives or different aspects of the collaboration, they were investigated in terms of inside the network or stakeholders outside the network, like consumers. But it also brings insights to consider other types of stakeholders, for example, governments in the future. If I want to investigate or for future research, we already have some insights about that. So the main contribution here is the collaboration between stakeholders.
Mm-hmm. And from a more theoretical, so we know that is super important, and that the diversity also makes it challenging and so on. So, but from a more theoretical point of view, what would you then advise to do to research these stakeholder collaborations across the levels? Well, what knowledge did you accumulate there in the last couple of years that you have been doing that from a more theoretical point of view?
I think in terms of diversity, when you consider the collaboration, when you go to a higher scale, thinking about the diversity of an entire network, or if you go in a small scale, it's important to consider the diversity, because if you add more diversity to the collaboration, you have more concepts. So I think it is the main theoretical contribution would be the effect of diversity within the collaboration of stakeholders.
And then in your slide, you also said that one of the nice new things is to consider the communication. So if we expand that, if we say we need to take into account the diversity and so on, and we combine that with your result of communication is more essential than we previously knew, if you combine that, what would you advise future research to do in that area?
I think even with the results from the research with consumers, you can see that there is a diversity between the consumers. So some of the sustainability cues, the type of message, you have to consider the person. Just to check, can you hear? I think
yes.
Okay, thank you. Because it's frozen, but it's frozen. So would be considered that even the diversity of consumers, it's only a group of stakeholders, but even within one group of stakeholders, you have to consider the diversity between them. So it would include how to communicate, having different strategies to communicate for consumers.
Okay, I'll leave it at that. And for the second question, what would you do differently? If you, I mean, God forbid, but if you had to start today with a new PhD research, what would you do differently?
Regarding all the topics, I would keep the same because I really enjoy it working with the topics. But I think most of the PhD candidates, they answer the same thing. I would manage time in a better way, in the sense of trying to read more papers. I'm accelerating the process a little bit. I think it's the time. I would manage the time in a better way. But the topic, I would keep the same. And I think learning about methods, for me, I worked with different types of methods, deductive case study, mixed methods, study with experimental conditions. If I had more time, I would have learned more about these methods.
Okay, I see. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Gabriela.
I give the word back to Professor
Thank you.
I was looking for the right button, but with two screens, sometimes it's a bit difficult. Then I would very much like to give the floor to Professor Veludo.
Hello, everyone. Hello, Gabriela. Nice to see you again. Well, I would like to start congratulating you and your supervisors for your work. I think your research is very ambitious in the sense that you did a multi-level analysis. So you analyzed the micro, the meso, and the macro levels. This is not common in a dissertation. And also, you took into consideration a multi-stakeholder perspective. So I think this is a very ambitious piece of work. And as I said before in our first defense, I think you did an excellent job. And I would like to thank you for your presentation. I think you made a concise presentation, only 20 minutes for explaining 3 different studies. And your presentation was very clear for those who didn't have the opportunity to read the work, but could have a broad image about the work as a whole. So congratulations on your presentation too, and the images were very beautiful and illustrative of what you found in the research. And I would like to thank you for the revision letter that you sent us with the important improvements that you made in the dissertation during the last time we were together. So the last time we were together, we made a lot of questions for you, and you managed to answer all of them very well. So you showed a clear understanding of what you did. You showed confidence on your work. And so for me, today is more like a ritual of a passage that we are celebrating your achievement as a PhD candidate. And I think one of the most beautiful parts of your research, in my opinion, is the possibility of the impact it can cause to various stakeholders. And in your dissertation, you mentioned several of them. So my question for you is not a question, but is more like I want to give you an opportunity to talk to us about the impact your research can bring to the stakeholders that you addressed in your work. So for policymakers, for managers of NGOs or companies, for Origens Brasil, for traditional communities. So my question for you is, what concrete change do you hope your research can bring to these stakeholders? How your research can influence them? And I would like to ask you to put a little bit more emphasis when you answering the questions to the Amazonian communities that were part of your study. So that's what I want to ask you, or give you the opportunity to give a voice to the impact, the practical implications of your study.
Thank you, Professor Tanya. I think that when I think about my work, it was something that I realized doing all my work, so investigating, writing, was that the context that I investigated, the main actor of this context are the traditional communities, because we are talking about a commercial relationship that can occur in other contexts too. But here, the specific characteristic is that this commercialization is happening with traditional communities in the context of the forest. So the main actors are the traditional communities. So this dissertation brings insights about how it's possible to deal with these traditional communities in terms of companies, NGOs, networks, and also brings insights to the communities too. How they can still keep their way of living, doing business, but adapting just a little bit, but it's still keeping their characteristics. And when I was working on the business and society paper that I'm going to submit, I found some very nice papers that also bring this idea that when you have a commercial relationship between indigenous communities, traditional communities, and companies, sometimes even when there is some, they try to, I forgot the word, they try to reduce the power asymmetry, but you still have power asymmetry because they understand for communities that for them, sustainable development can be different from what companies think. So even when you're trying these commercial relationships, they're trying to bring benefits to traditional communities. Sometimes they're not 100% heard. So I think this dissertation brings a lot of insights about how you can hear and also appreciate and bring communities to discussion, and while keeping the relationships with other stakeholders. I'm not sure if I answered it very well. Was it okay?
I see Professor Biron nodding. Do you have other questions?
No, for me, it's just about that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. And then I would like to pass the floor to our third juror. Andres, please go ahead.
Okay, Natalie, thank you. First of all, Gabriela, congratulations on reaching this day. It took a long time, but eventually it happens, so we're happy with that. I think you took on a big challenge to focus on wicked problems, because they are very complex, as you said on your dissertation, very complex, multiple actors, demanded from you a very strong and dedicated effort on data collection, traveling and going to the Amazon, doing interviews. So we see the scope associated with trying to gather all that data and then doing experiments, another complex issue. But well, I think you did a good job on all those 3 papers. Some of them already published, so congratulations on that. And I was reflecting on your presentation today, and I was thinking that now you became one other actor in this network of stakeholders, right? Because you interacted with them, you have like propositions on how to tackle some problems they face. So my question to you is like, has 2 parts. The first part is how you're going to deal with this responsibility to be part of this network, and how you're going to contribute for them in the future. And the other part of the question is how you're thinking about future research. So what are you going to do from now on when you think of the results you already have, and where you're going to go with your research?
Thank you. I think regarding the first question, I would say that first of all, I have to share with the network, so the Origins Brazil network, because they gave me, they were very open for me to make questions, interviews, collect data with them. And I see that they are very open to hear from us too, because we can bring a lot of insights. Sometimes they talk about a problem, and in our side, from the academic side, we can analyze and say, oh, I think you could do that. There is a concept that is related to that. So it's our job, I think it's from the academic side, to always share with other stakeholders like the Origins Brazil network what we understand and ask them what is happening. So first of all, I have to share with them the results in a more way of understand, because we know that sometimes academic papers can be difficult to understand. And so I have to make it clear for them to understand, not only the administrator, not only the companies, but also the NGOs, the traditional communities too, that were really, really open to talk with us. And I think I can go beyond the Origins Brazil network. So there are a lot of other networks working in this context of the Amazon forest, but other contexts in Brazil regarding sustainability that I could share with them and start to understand the nuances between these different contexts. So yeah, I think the first plan, the first thing to do would be to share with them. And always keep this conversation to exchange knowledge. And regarding the second question, there are already some ideas to work. So Kavita and I, we want to, I don't know, I think Anouk and Ingrid, they know, but Natalie, Tanya, and Valerie don't know. Kavita and I, we went to the Amazon forest 2 weeks ago to have a new round of interviews with Origins Brazil. So the idea is to continue working with them, investigating, and some ideas would be to still focus on the orchestration of these networks. Also, when you think about the companies, they're part of these network. Understand these companies, what they changed, what they had to change to work on these networks. The idea of co-creation between companies, communities that I saw during my study, that consumers, they still don't know very well what is co-creation, and co-creation with traditional communities, they don't know. So it will be a very interesting and important research to conduct. And I think that's it, some of the ideas.
Perfect, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. We have had a short pre-jury meeting. And so I assume, I forgot to check, but I assume that the supervisors no longer have questions.
No.
I see them waving no. As the chair, I assume my role today is also a bit more ceremonial, so I will also not ask additional questions. So now I realize the time that jury and myself we will take a short recess, that we reconvene. I understood that someone in your administration needs to set up a separate Skype room for us so that we can deliberate on whether to grant you your PhD, and there are also some formalities that we need to complete, because with a joint PhD, we also need to make sure that we tick all the boxes from 2 institutions. So we will take a short 5 to 10 minutes, at least 10 minutes recess, after which we will come back to this room to have the proclamation, hopefully, and some words of praise by your supervisors.
Yeah, exactly, Natalie. So I'll call the person, Daisy, who is here in the Zoom link with us, to put us in a separate room for deliberation. Daisy, a gente está pronto para deliberar. Vou pedir a gentileza de todo mundo se retirar da sala.
Ok, professora. Eu vou criar a sala virtual e vou enviar o convite para todo mundo.
Obrigada. Natalie, I also ask for people who are in person here in the room also to leave the room, so we...
Ah, yes, of course, because you were there. Yes,
Yeah.
That would be nice. Normally it's the jury that leaves the room, but indeed it's a bit safer. They will close the door as well?
Yes, they just closed the door, but just wait, because we are still on YouTube.
Yeah, we see it.
Just a second.
Yeah, I received an invitation to join Sala 1, so I hope all the jury members see it. Yeah, I see Vera already left. Okay, we will see you back shortly.
Hello again.
Hello again.
Acho que dá para diminuir um pouco a letra. Yeah. Okay, we're all back here, but we can't hear you, Natalie. Desculpa, eu baixei.
Sorry, is the sound back?
Yes.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, perfect. Okay. Gabriela, the jury has deliberated, and I would like to start by offering, again, I know you've already heard praise from the three jury members that have asked questions, but again, reiterating our strong appreciation for the progress that you've made. It was a very steep learning curve, but we've really seen you mature into being a scholar and then to understand what it means. So we greatly appreciate that learning curve, but also the efforts that you've put into this work, the different methodological approaches you've used, the fact that you've talked to many different stakeholders and have worked very closely with these communities and really giving them a voice. And we think that that's something that's very valuable for academic work as well. And so we want to congratulate you on that. Besides from that, I've had the pleasure to also follow it very closely from the sidelines, and then your supervisors have also stressed that it was really a pleasure to work with you, and as a jury member or a committee member as well. You were always very open to receiving our feedback, and I think you've also done a good job at integrating the feedback that you've been given. So with that, I want to say many congratulations on achieving your title of PhD. Congratulations. So it's really a milestone, a very important moment, and I don't want to take too much of of the time of the supervisors anymore. I just want to say that there is also still a token of appreciation from our faculty, which is awaiting you in Antwerp when you come back, and we hope that that will be soon. But we know you also have a new job already as an assistant professor, so that's really wonderful. And with that, I really I want to give the floor to Anouk and Ingrid first for their words of praise for you.
Dear Gabriela, dear Gabi, dear Dr. Nobre Diaz, congratulations on this wonderful achievement from the both of us, of course. What a journey it has been. Over the past weeks, I found myself reflecting on that journey and once again realizing how incredibly fast time flies. So when I looked through my mailbox, I found an email of 2018 where Anne Jorissen actually connected our department for the first time to Cavita. But we had to wait a couple of years till 2021 when I received a mail in March from Cavita inviting us actually to work together on this FAO FAPES program. And that is actually where our collaboration started, where we really started. So you and Cavito and Leo, together with me and Ingrid, we developed this FAO FAPES proposal. And that was the kickoff of our journey. And it was also the topic that you decided to work on, because later, actually, the collaboration deepened. And in March 2022, you had an opportunity of an international scholarship from USB. And at that moment, Ingrid and I officially became your co-supervisors. And later in that year, in November, Ingrid and I also had the pleasure of visiting you and Cavita in Sao Paulo. It was a research funding by CAPES that allowed us to stay there. And also around the same time, your scholarship was approved. So you joined our department from February till July 2023. And I still vividly remember that I picked you up at the airport in Zaventem, early February. And we drove to your room in the very heart of Antwerp, sort of a modern student room that you managed to book with a shared kitchen and bathroom. And I must confess that at that moment I thought, oh my God, because I didn't really consider it to be very luxurious, but actually you were just happy and content. It was really a moment that stayed with me. You were so grateful for the opportunity. You focused on what lay ahead. You never complained. And that was really a trait that says a great deal about who you actually are. So it was really a true pleasure to have you with us in Antwerp. And even though the circumstances were not ideal, because shortly before you arrived, remember, we had a fire in the building, and this forced us to work from temporary flex offices at the Brain Embassy. But you blended in seamlessly. You actively participated in departmental life, research meetings, seminars. You already attended the research seminar at the University of Namur. But also together with Lisa, we attended the Frontiers in Services Conference in Maastricht. You also attended the Belgian Service Research Day in Leuven. And also beyond academics, you engaged wholeheartedly in social life in our department. And both Ingrid and I were very happy also to welcome you into our homes. So, and at the same time, of course, we worked intensively on your research. It has been a demanding process, but one in which you grew enormously as a scholar. And we are extremely proud that this journey has already resulted in a publication in Business Strategy and the Environment. A second manuscript is currently under revision at the Journal of Consumer Policy, and a third has been submitted to Business and Society. So a great achievement at this stage of your career. And as Natalie already stated, this is clearly not the end of the road. That's how we see it. You have recently started teaching a course in marketing and one in sustainability at the ESPM faculty that focuses on management and communication. And we are confident that you will thrive in this environment, just as you have done throughout this PhD journey. So we sincerely hope that our research collaboration will continue, and that this defense marks not an endpoint, but a new beginning. So again, Gabi, congratulations once again. You can be immensely proud, and so are we. Yeah.
Thank you.
Ingrid, are you going to say some words or?
Oh, no, I think Anouk summarized everything that we wanted to say, and I had to say also from my part that I'm really happy working with you, still working with you, and collaborating, working with you, and I really appreciate you as a student, as a colleague now, and more importantly, perhaps as a person. You're very warm and very warm, cheerful person, and yeah, what's also very important is that you have a very good attitude to learn and to go on with your research and with everything you want to do in your life. And you managed to have this PhD, and in the same time you were married. Yeah, you handled a lot of things together. But okay, sometimes you gave me some nightmares because I wanted to structure everything and go on. But you managed and you did well. And okay, thank you very much, Gabi.
So I want to thank Anouk and Ingrid for all the experience that I had, not only Antwerp when I was there, because for me it was an amazing experience. It was perfect. But besides that, all the years working together for your patience and your guidance. And as Professor Natalie said, I'm planning to go to Antwerp. I submitted to EMAC So if my paper is going to be in best mood, so if my paper get accepted, I want to go to Antwerp before UNEP. So this year I will go to Antwerp to visit everyone.
Okay.
Thank you.
Gabi, I also have a few words to share with you. Okay, so I wrote everything because it's a long journey that we had together. So dear Gabi, you are now Dr. Diaz or Dr. Nobre Diaz. I'm not sure how you're going to sign your papers from now on. It seems to be Dr. Diaz from what I see. So congratulations. It has been an honor to be your supervisor since your master's degree. I remember when you came from Brasilia to São Paulo in 2019, you were so happy and excited to start your master's. In 2021, you were also excited to start your PhD. From your first year, I recommended and you agreed to dive into the Origins Brazil research as the basis for your dissertation. Some months later, we discussed the opportunity for a double degree with the University of Antwerp. And again, you embraced it with a lot of enthusiasm. I know it was not easy. You had to overcome challenges that were different from those of your colleagues, which sometimes made you feel lonely. Some of those challenges were the English language, for meetings, writing the dissertation, emails, presentations, and so on. Having 3 supervisors to align with every step on the way, living abroad as well, learning and complying with the rules from both universities, and a few other more challenges. But you never thought about giving up. You always came to me, to Anouk, and to Ingrid to ask for advice whenever you faced a new challenge in your research. And you were always open to listening to us. Thank you for the opportunity of strengthening our connection with Anouk and Ingrid and the University of Antwerp. Despite these challenges, you never lost focus on other activities. You closely followed your colleagues' research, published with some of them, and participated in many other celebrations. You actively participated in many initiatives and opportunities in the university, such as conferences, SEMEAD, ENAMPAD, in Brazil, and others abroad. And projects in sustainability, such as the one in recycling, and now the book chapter about waste management that you are writing with other colleagues as well. You also learned how to work as a co-supervisor when working with Julia in her scientific initiation for undergrads. I also wanted to highlight some of your personal traits. You were kind to everyone. You were a very good listener. You were persistent and you never lose hope. You are strong in facing the challenges in your way. You always celebrate your friends' achievements from your hearts. Over these 7 years, and I would like to stress 7 years because you wrote 6 years in your dissertation, but it's been 7 years. We walked together. So many things have passed. You moved to São Paulo, you did your master's in the middle of the COVID pandemic. You moved together with Ronaldo, you adopted Mocha. You did your PhD, you lived in Antwerp for 6 months. You have been publishing your research. You got married, and we were stressed as well, which is a big achievement in the middle of your PhD. You traveled a lot between São Paulo, Brasilia, and Aracaju to never lost contact with your family and friends from all of these places, and also traveled to many other places as well. And now you started teaching at ESPN, one of the top marketing schools in São Paulo. You already published 5 papers, one of them already derived from your dissertation, published in Business Strategy and Environment. The other 2 papers from your dissertation are also very well developed and have a great potential to get published. One in the Journal of Consumer Policy, which is already in round 1, and the Business and Society. The most important part, your research can contribute to society, directly to the Origins Brazil network, and indirectly to other sustainability networks that can benefit from their experience, and even further to the conservation of natural environments through a better balance of what is considered development for each type of society. We, in what people say the white people world, and also for the traditional communities in the Amazon forest. Those notions of development are quite different from these two types of society. So I cannot express how proud I am of you. You became a scientific researcher in the perfect sense of a scientific researcher. You learned a lot, you changed a lot, and yet in your soul, you are the same Gabi that I met in 2019. I'm so happy that our relationship has grown into this beautiful relationship and friendship. Well done, Dr. Diaz. You should be proud of yourself. Congratulations.
Thank you. If I start speaking, I'm going to cry even more. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Gabby, are there final words that you would like to say?
I would like to thank first my mentors, so Kavita, Nuke, and Ingrid. Thank you for all these years working together. I'd like to thank my jury composition for giving me a lot of feedback that really improved my work during the internal defense and the public defense. Even here, because here in Brazil, you're usually we only have one defense. So thank you, Tana, Tanya, and Andres for having two defenses. Thank you for that. And I would like to thank people that are here. So in person, my friends, and everybody that is online. Thank you for watching and celebrating with me. So I think that's it.
All right, beautiful words, and I hope you get a chance to celebrate. So this is normally where we would have a reception and toast to your health, but we promise when you come to Antwerp that we will still do this. But I hope that you had a chance to do it there at least.
We put some champagne bottles in the fridge already, so by May,
yes,
we can.
By May they will be drunk. I know they will already be empty. We will need new champagne bottles.
Very much
empty, but okay.
The defense. And thank you to all the other jury members, Professor Tanya, Professor Vera, Professor Andres, for taking part as well. Thanks a lot.
Indeed. Thank you for all the comments. It was great collaborating with you, and we hope to see you soon on another occasion. Gabriela, enjoy your day.
Yeah.
Enjoy the title and take some moments to relax and then keep working on the next papers. I hear you.
Next Wednesday, 3 o'clock.
But for now, enjoy.
Yeah.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Congrats. Hear you soon. Ciao. Enjoy.
Bye-bye.
Tchau. Comemorem bastante. Parabéns.
Bye.
Picture.
A picture. Okay, don't leave. I think Vera already left.
Yeah.
With the picture.
Yeah, I think Vera already left, but
Yeah.
We will have to do some Photoshop.
Yeah, but yeah, like this. I mean, it's just okay. Yeah. Taking pictures of the screen is not really.
yeah, no.
But it's something.
Yeah, better than nothing.
Okay, now we have the.
When you're in Belgium, we disguise ourselves in PhDs and doctors with all the gowns, and then we take more pictures. Okay.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
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 Talk to you soon. Ciao.
Bye.
Tchau, tchau.